What up, Canna fam? I'm gonna start working on putting together some stuff for YouTube, some content. Today I'm mixing up some soil. We're gonna take it from the start. I went to my local hydroponics store, Harvest Moon Hydroponics. I was gonna get some Ocean Forest. I'm going back for a bag of that today. I like the organics and all the FoxFarm stuff, but the Happy Frog and the Ocean Forest. This one I think is pretty thick of a soil. It's wet, it's clumpy. But when you mix it with the Ocean Forest, which is very light and fluffy, it's pretty good. That's more so for my mom. I'm mixing something for her. But today we're going to be focusing on the Promix. This is the BX, it's their base. The Promix HP is high porosity, that just has more perlite, but I have a bale of it, so save some money. And then they have a new one, it's all organic. We're going to talk about that one next time. Nutrients that I'm using is all organic. It's the Aurora Innovations Roots Organic Uprising line. Uprising Grow is the grow part. The veg nutrients. Foundation is all the vitamins, the minerals, all that good stuff. And then I got the terp teas. Those are little bursts for partway through veg. If you got big plants, you're taking them a long time, or if you're starting to fade out early in flower, you make a tea with these, compost tea, and them things smack. So starting with Coco block, it's like $30 for 2 cubic feet, a bag that size of hydrated cocoa. If you buy it in a block, you get a little bit more. I think it's like 2.5 or 3 cubic feet, 9 gallons of water. I've got 5 gallons ready to go. And something else I like about this is when they package it, they compress it really hard. You'd be surprised, but this is definitely going to fill this entire tote. That's a fact. So they heat treat it and they press it so it kills anything that could be in it, any bugs, any microbes and stuff like bad stuff. You know what I mean? Things that are going to eat your roots or cause some root issues or whatever. But this thing is solid. So the first step is you can take 2 hands. I'm going to break it up. And then we're going to add some water, all right? And that's the General Hydroponics Coco Tech. I've used all different brands. They all work. So whatever fits your budget and your price range. You don't have to get this fancy. Like I said, we could be mixing Happy Frog with Ocean Forest and you'd be just fine. So, all right, let's check back in a minute, guys. All right, guys. That took me maybe 5 minutes. There's no easy way to do it. I recommend you get yourself a solid, sturdy spade. And I kind of just chop into it until I can split it in half. And like I said, there's no easy way. This stuff is hard to break up. But this is half of the block, right? And we're gonna pour some water in it. And it's not by any means a quick process. It takes a little bit of time for that water to hydrate. You do have the option of putting the whole block right into there. But the problem is it would take a long time for that water to soak in, absorb, and break it up. So I don't know, you can see it's floating up. Reminds me of coffee grounds, honestly. But yeah, I put about 4 gallons in there. And it's already not even barely coming out to the other side. It's swelling up. Let's add the rest, last gallon. And like I said, these blocks are anywhere from 12 to 20 bucks versus 30 to 40 for a couple cubic feet of cocoa. And like I said, probably gonna want to wear gloves. I took mine off, but it's all right. Gardening, right? So yeah, I'm gonna go get 5 more gallons of water. I'm gonna let all this hydrate. I'm gonna let it sit for a couple hours fully. I don't want any chunks in there. That's no good. Plants can't grow through that, you know, just around it. It's an obstacle for the roots. It's a challenge and it's no good. So I'm gonna soak this, let this get hydrated, and then we're gonna talk about mixing it with some soil and amending it. All right, guys? Talk to you soon. All right, guys, so it took about 6 gallons. It says 9 to do the whole block. It took 6 for me to do roughly half of it, maybe a little bit more. Now I can see the water building up on the bottom just a little bit, but I'm gonna go through it because you can see there's still a lot of, it's not fully hydrated yet. So I'm gonna mix all this and then there's two other things that we're gonna need. That's the Promix and the perlite. You could also use vermiculite. You could add sphagnum peat moss. There's a few different things depending on what CEC or cation exchange capacity you're trying to reach in your soil, which is the soil's ability to transfer nutrients from whatever nutrient you are using through the soil to the roots to the plant. It's so in depth with the soil food web and all sorts of things like that, but we're going to keep it relatively simple. Some Promix or simple potting soil, some perlite, could also use vermiculite if you wanted to, and some Coco core. So I'm going to mix this up and then I'll tell you what we're doing. So after thoroughly mixing it up, making sure there's no more clumps or anything all throughout it, like I said, reminds me a lot of wet coffee grounds. So I spread about a third, roughly a half. Next step is to top it with a layer of perlite. This is all personal preference, how much you want porosity in your soil, which would be the runoff, the drain. Perlite creates air pockets, which allows for aerobic bacteria and good stuff for the roots. And that goes in, I guess, I like using the organic dry amendments. Once we finish the soil, we'll get into that. But I feel like top dressing, all that type of stuff works great with higher percentage of perlite in the soil. It just runs, I don't know, I like it, especially for compost teas and stuff like that. So, especially in fabric pots, air pruning the roots, spacious for the roots, I don't know. It allows them something to grow around and little places to climb between. So the next step after the perlite is to top it off about probably up to that rim, a little bit, little above it, and we're gonna use Promix for that. And once it's all mixed together, I'll show you guys what it looks like. Alright, so here it is all mixed up. This one had about a third perlite. This is relative to how the Promix HP looks, minus the Coco core. And this one had probably a tenth of it was perlite, maybe a quart, and then 20%. Not as much as that one for sure. So we're gonna see. They both, that's what you want in soil, clumping but breaking apart, you know. It's awesome. It's excellent. This one's just a little bit more, I don't know, we'll see. See if I can change my own opinion. I like the high porosity. My plan next time is to get the Promix organic, see if it needs perlite, see what happens. So a few things, these totes aren't that big, 58 quarts, that's enough to do probably, I get 5 3-gallon fabric pots, or roughly 3 3/4, 4 5-gallon pots out of each one of these. So I'm going to show you what I do next. There's a few different fertilizers I use. Like I said, I use the Roots Organic, which I'll grab, but I like this all-purpose, especially because majority of it, a quarter of its weight by volume. Let me get this open. I don't know if you can see. Majority of that is mycorrhizae and beneficial, all sorts of stuff. All sorts of stuff that we want to start plants. Calcium, magnesium, and it's not too bad. So they recommend a lot of things, amending or adding pretty heavy. I always do maybe a quarter to a half of that, especially for amending soil. And then if I see signs from my plants or my seedlings, yellowing or spotting or whatever it is, if it's a deficiency, I can add more. If it's a toxicity or an excess of nutrients, then the Coco core, the perlite, that makes it easy to flush. Makes it easy to flush. More runoff, run it pH water. Another thing that I didn't mention that you can do but don't have to is when that Coco core brick is hydrated with water, you can pH the water, and I did. I've seen some people put all sorts of things, liquid seaweed, CalMag, all sorts of stuff in the soil and then hydrate blocks, but I just like to pH the water and then gonna amend with some of this and the uprising nutrients and show you what's going on. And this is the end. So I did a tablespoon of the all organic with all the mycorrhizae in there, and then I did the Roots Organic Uprising Grow and Uprising Foundation. Like I said, I go very light on my usage. I did the calculations and everything on this pot, the size, the cubic feet of the soil. So I did a tablespoon of grow, a tablespoon of foundation, a tablespoon of the all-purpose with the mycorrhizae. It's fall, beautiful time of year. And then you just got to go back, mix it one last time, and it's good to go. I've heard people talk about burning plants, hot soil, organic is hot. I've never personally had an issue burning plants or anything like that yet. I don't know. So, but you're gonna see what I grow with the soil. So if I run into issues, then I guess we're gonna run into them together, right? Hopefully. So I'm gonna get to mixing, and then we'll touch a new subject tomorrow, and that's gonna be pot size and filling them up, starting seedlings. Have a good night, guys. Take care. Genetic Dreams 420, hashtag no more grow more. What's up, guys? Good morning. So I got some work I'm going to be doing today, and I mixed up a couple totes. It's Promix, Coco coarse, sphagnum peat moss, and perlite, amended with organic nutrients, roots organic, uprising grow, uprising foundation, all that stuff. And then when I opened it this morning, I don't know if you can see it in the picture, but all this mycelium growth, like I'm assuming, or fungus, or I don't know, but